Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. So the grid just went down. What do you do? That's what I want to talk about today. And this is going to be kind of an exercise for you. I'll say a couple of things, but this is an exercise. I was just watching Christopher Wray, the the head of the FBI, testifying before Congress. Everybody was sitting around looking very serious and very, everything like that. And he came up with, yes, there are bad actors coming across our southern border, and and we should be very concerned. And yes, Senator, I'm very concerned, and you should be very concerned, and we should all be very concerned. And with that, I agree. I mean, yeah, they're just bringing in the enemy. Simple as that. And but he finally let out a magic word, and that is, yes, we believe that there are ISIS affiliated people coming in through over our southern border, and yes, we're very concerned. Well, we should be very concerned. I'm sure with all the different people coming in, the OTMs, other than Mexicans, far exceed the Mexicans coming in. We've known that there are thousands coming in from the Middle East, many of whom, and they will arrest, the occasional person that they say they wanted for terrorism. All the Chinese coming in and all that. We know that this is a setup. This is the beginning of the large assault against our country. Now, what concerns me and you, in addition to the large assault against our country, is how that's going to affect you. And with ISIS, if they realize this, they have, and you know this, they have all sorts of different reasons. They have layers and layers and layers of reasons of why they tell us certain things. Some of us, it's all how to affect us in certain ways. I believe that it's very possible that they are coming out with this now in order to prepare people for this, so that when it happens, they can say, "See, we said this was going to happen, and you need to rely on us." Blah blah blah. Just this morning. And now, for those of you who are new, by the way, and the most dangerous thing, in my opinion, other than biological warfare and nuclear warfare and everything like that, which I don't believe that most of our opponents would want to resort to, because it's too easy, to have blowback and for it to affect them. Probably the most devastating is to bring down the grid by whatever means. It could be that a HEMP, a high altitude EMP, nuclear weapon EMP produced. But it could be other things. It could be physical attacks, and it could be hacking. It could be a cyber attack. Any of those things. Now, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to me, you don't know that, I wrote 6 books, the Stonemont series, about the grid going down, everything going down. They're novels, 6 novels, but they're kind of my huge master lesson plan on how to prepare for, how to survive, and then how to rebuild after a complete collapse of everything. I'll let you know how to. Well, you can. I'll put the links down below. You can get them through Amazon or through me directly, and I'll tell you how to do that in a little bit later. But I just wanted to introduce that here for anybody who's new and says, well, who is he, and how does he know what to talk about and things like that? Well, I wrote a bunch of books about it, so that's who I am and what I know. So bringing down the grid is probably going to be the preferred way for an enemy to bring us down, or to bring a section down. You don't have to bring the whole country down. If you brought down a section of the country, and for those of you who may not know, there are 3 main grids in North America, in the 48 states. And that's the Western, the Eastern, and the Texas grid. But you wouldn't have to take down all 3 grids. If you took down a large portion of one of them, it would have such an effect, a cascading effect on the rest of the country, with just a large swath down, And within a couple of 3 days, everything is starting to collapse in there. And then the country has to send all of its resources to that one area to to assist. And their assistance is not going to be very good, to be honest. Government response, FEMA, Homeland Security, I don't care. Look how well they did in Katrina. Look how well they do anytime there's a major emergency. They have a bunch of guys stand on a stage, make some announcement in their little FEMA jackets, and say how much they're doing, and blah blah blah, while people die. So it wouldn't take much. One of the first things that I do every day on the Patreon channel, and I'm going to give you an invite to join us on the Patreon channel, because I put up several things every day on the Patreon channel, and a lot more in detail, in depth, and different types of things than I do on the YouTube channel. But one of the things that I do every day is I put up on our chat feature. There's a chat feature on the Patreon channel. And it's either a thought or a question or advice or something like that. And it kind of gets it started. And then the members can come on and make comments, or, talk back and forth about it, or give their ideas or ask questions about that particular subject of the day. Well, the first one, the first thing that I did this morning is I put up the question, the grid is, and everything's shut off. I don't think I said grid down. But everything's out. What are the first 3 things you do? Now, this can be also a drill here for those of you watching on YouTube. But what are the first 3 things you do? And then what? Okay, because everything is about then what. I've told this story before. I'll share it here. Usually I don't share this stuff on YouTube. But after I wrote my first book, The Reversion, that came out in 2017, it did very well. It shocked me. It sold well worldwide. And I thought I was done. I just wrote the book. And the reason that I did it is because I've been teaching preparedness for years and years and years. And then with that show, Doomsday Preppers, and what was the other thing? The zombie show, and preparedness was starting to get real big on YouTube, and so people were paying attention to it. And when they learned, a lot of people that I worked with learned that I knew about preparedness, they started asking me questions, and so I just started. I would tell them, and a lot of the information that was coming out at the time about preparedness I disagreed with. It was the new convert coming up with ideas, but they hadn't really fleshed them out. They hadn't really thought about it. And I mean, I'd been thinking about it, for 40 years by that time. And so I kept answering questions, and I thought, well, I'll just write a little short story. So I started writing a short story about it that I thought, well, I'll just print out some pages. When anybody wants to really get some lessons, I'll say, here's 20 pages of what to do. Well, I kept writing, because then what, right? And ended up with what became my first book, The Reversion. And then I thought I was done. Okay, I've written a book, and it did very well. Cool, that's great. Now I'll go on about my life. And then I started reading the reviews on Amazon, and great review. I couldn't believe it. And one of the questions hit me, and they said, I can't wait to see what happens with, and then they gave a particular character or situation. And I said, well, what does that mean? I mean, I never thought about doing, writing more. But then I realized that that's the question. That's always the question. Then what? Okay. And so I started on my second book, and it became a third book, and a fourth book, and a fifth book, and a sixth book, and now I'm writing the 7th book. And that's what preparedness is all about. And I would suggest that as things become more dangerous, you think about it this way. Then what? Okay. there are going to be so many options, you know, so many forks in the road. Well, if this happens, then that. But if this happens, then that. But if that happens, then this. Okay. The the road to preparedness is both simple yet complicated. Okay. I mean, we know we need the basics, right? Food, water, shelter, protection, groups, people, all these kinds of things. But the nature of threats in the world is so vast that there are many different sub responses depending on what the threat is while we have prepared ourselves with those basics. Does that make sense? So one of the things that I would suggest that you do, and very often I don't throw these videos out for opinions. Okay. But this is one I will allow a lot of discussion on this one, and I hope, and so I invite you, whether you're new to the channel or one of the old dogs, go ahead and discuss this in the comments below. What if, and it's something that you should do, and that's the purpose of this video, is to get you thinking and get you realizing that it's very possible in this coming year, during this election year, and anybody who's thinking realizes it, that some really challenging things can happen. Really. And one of the worst things would be a grid down situation. So start thinking about it. Are you ready? Number one, are you ready? And do you know what it takes to really be ready for a grid down situation? And maybe I'll refer to, if you want to know really what it takes, I'll let you know how to get the books in a minute. Think about it. Make sure that you are ready. If you're not, what does it take for you to get ready? And then start working at that. And I would suggest you start working pretty hard at it. Because if there was any time in recent memory that if I were the enemy that I would attack, it would be here in the next 6-8 months. So think about that. Are you ready? And then what would you do? Use this as a drill. Everything's shut off. Lights in your house. You check your car. Now, in the old days, there was a thought, and when I wrote the first book, there was a thought that many vehicles after about 1978 wouldn't run because of the electronics in it. And that maybe not. You know, there are other studies that are done that cast some doubts on that. So maybe vehicles would run, but the electricity is out. Your neighbor's electricity is out. You see it widespread. Your phones aren't working. TVs, nothing. Well, obviously, if the electric's not working, your TV's not working. Nothing is working, and now you wonder, what is it? And you start checking things off. Those of you with shortwave and you should have an emergency radio to be able to at least monitor these channels, even if you're not on it, or on ham. Those of you who are on ham will be able to make contact. Oh, I should say this too. We have a special ham section on the Patreon channel. So if you're interested in that, come join that. We've got a lot of great guys over there. I don't really understand a lot about ham. I'm not a ham. I've never been involved in it. But I know that I probably will be, because what they talk about is very interesting. I think it could be a very important preparedness tool. So those with extended radio capabilities are going to be able to see how widespread it is, or maybe an emergency announcement will come across somehow. Okay, so go out and in your car and dial up your radio and see if you get that, and figure it out. And then if you see that, oh, this looks like it's widespread, and most people won't know for several days. They'll think, oh, it's just an outage, and they'll get it fixed. But if you're tuned in, you're going to have a jump start on these people, because when everything goes out, you should immediately assume the worst. Then if everything comes back on, you're happy. Okay, great, that was cool. I had a little drill here, but you should immediately assume the worst and start along your plan. So that's what I wanted to throw out there today. What is your plan? What would you do? Go ahead and discuss it in the comments, and put your questions in there. People who don't know, will you can ask questions, and then we have a lot of smart people on YouTube. Our top echelon is on Patreon. So if you're not there, I'll put the link down below. You should want to come over with us. It does cost. It costs $1 a month. $1. But it really weeds out the wackos. To be honest, I have to delete a lot of trash on YouTube, and I never have to delete anything over on Patreon. For some reason that dollar just keeps the wackos out. You wouldn't think that it would, but it seems to. But anyway, come join us on Patreon. It's down below. You'll get a lot more information. And then those of you who kind of have a lock on things, we do have some great people that post on YouTube here. Share your thoughts, share your advice with other people. Okay. And so how to get the books? I told you how to do that. You can get them through Amazon. It's the Stonemont series: The Reversion, The Revival, The Renewal, An Appeal to Heaven, The Blessings of Freedom, and Hostages to Fortune. The complete plan to, like I say, to preparing for, surviving, and rebuilding after a collapse of everything. It's 6 novels. It's a great story. People love the story. And they don't even realize they're being, well, they do realize they're being educated, because I have people saying that I mark up my books, I underline things, I ask questions, I make notes, I share. I've had people tell me they've read through the whole series 5 times and are still finding lessons that they missed the first 4 times, because it's just so jam-packed in there. And a great story. You won't be bored. You'll love it. Somebody said the story will make you laugh and cry and understand how fortunate you are and give you ideas and laugh and cry again and all sorts of things. And I don't put dirty words in it, by the way. I don't like that. Any author who has to put dirty words in his story needs to learn more words so he can express himself properly without resorting to that kind of filthy language. I don't like to read it, and I don't write it. The other way, so is you can get it through Amazon. They get it to you real quick. The link is down below. Or you can get it directly from me through our website, stonemont.us. And if you do it that way, I get to sign them for you. There's a place you can put, would you like Steve to sign your book? Is there anything special you would like Steve to put in there? I have a lot of people buy books as presents or sets, and they'll put a little note in there. Would you make this to Bob from so-and-so? Read these, you'll love, whatever you'd like to say is fine. And that link is also down below, the stonemont.us. And on there, you can also get our mugs. We have a whole lot of mugs available. The one I'm drinking from today is, it has become our most popular. This thing is just flying off the shelves. The only commie idea liberals love, with the crossed AKs. And you can see how that is. And I tell you, this is our most popular one. All of them are popular, but this one is just flying off the shelves, probably because of the election year. And I tell people, buy one for yourself, buy 2 so you and a friend can drink together. Buy them as gifts. I just had somebody buy a bunch of them. I think they're to give away to some people. And I said, buy a bunch and take them over to your gun range and give them to the guys there. You'll be the most popular person at the range. And you can also order these off our website, and the t-shirts and stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of the deal today. Be ready for things happening. Be ready for grid down, because if you're ready for grid down, you're pretty much ready for everything else. And leave your comments. Share your thoughts. Share your doubts. Share your questions. And share your expertise with everybody else in the comments down below, and I'll look forward to reading them. And then join us on the Patreon channel. Love to have you over there, and you will love to be there once you come. So you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and I'll talk to you tomorrow if everything doesn't fall apart. Bye-bye.